Good evening again, guys. Damien Jones here again for you this evening. And it's time for another of my creepy stories. So, without any hesitation, sit back, dim down the lights, give me your full attention, and I'll begin. It is said that long ago, one evening, two young farmers were returning from the fields when they came across a girl who was gathering wild flowers beside the Coursie, an ancient horse road leading to the village of Othenfrop. She wore only a ragged frock with a sprig of heather in her hair. Her eyes were lowered shyly when one of them called to her. "Have you lost your way, lass, all alone out here on moor?" She backed away as they approached. "Don't be afraid, there's no one here to harm you." They came towards her, one from either side, as though they were stalking a wild pony ready to break away. Soon they were beside her, watching with amusement the spark of fear in her eyes as she glanced from one to the other. "Why do you tremble? We will help you find your way," they teased. "You never know who you might meet, now that dusk is falling out here on moor." The young men came closer still, one reaching out to hold the girl's hand while the other seized her from behind. He felt her breasts heave as she breathed deep, and she struggled to break free. Her frock was torn and her thighs laid bare as she wrestled on the ground, whimpering with fright. When she lay still, they released their hold to watch her sob and tremble. Stark fear alone gave her strength as she kicked wildly and fought to escape. Startled, the men fell back as she leapt to her feet and fled. Further and faster she ran, her heart pounding as she flew through the winds and heather. But whenever she glanced around, her pursuers were never far behind. "You can't run forever, there's nowhere to hide out on moor," they taunted. But she was strong and nimble, and terror quickened her flight. Gradually the distance between them stretched wider. They watched her make straight for a cottage beyond the Whins, scurry inside, and bolt the door shut behind her. When her assailants reached her hiding place, they listened for some sound from within. Prowling around, peeping at the window, they could see smoke curling from the chimney, but the cottage was silent. "Anyone there?" they called at length, knocking on the door. But no one answered. They imagined the girl hiding inside, hoping they had lost sight of her, longing to hear their footsteps grow faint. They tried the latch, but the bolt held fast. "Anyone there?" they called again. Presently they heard the bolt rattle, and the door was held wide enough for an old woman with sharp eyes and grey hair to peer out at them. "Well now, who's this to come to call upon old Nan so late in the day? Two handsome young men, I'm thinking." She opened the door wider, letting the last of the daylight in. "Come, rest a spell, and tell me what brings you visiting a lonely soul all the way across moor." They looked beyond her into the heavy shadows as they crossed the threshold. The curtains at the windows were closed, and there was a glow from the hearth. "A dark-haired lassie has lost her way," the visitors began. "Now she's nowhere to be found. Perhaps she called here for shelter." Their eyes wandered around the room, expecting to find someone hiding in the corner. Beside the fireplace stood a rocking chair, draped with an old blanket. Beyond this laid a crumpled heap which served as the old woman's bed. Perhaps the clothes would stir, and a frightened girl would appear. The rest of the room was hidden in darkness. Old Nan chuckled to herself. A dark-haired lassie, you say, lost among the Whins. Whoever would be wandering so far from home when night is creeping on? She took one last peep outside, closed the door, and shuffled to a chair. Come to the fire and rest a spell. It's a cold wind stirring. She poked the logs until the flames danced and lit up her face. I wonder what the young maid could be doing all alone on moor, she went on muttering to herself. Could be a ghost that you are seeking. Bewildered, the visitors strayed from the hearth and looked around more closely into the shadows, but where the girl had gone remained a mystery. No one ever calls on old Nan, the old woman went on, not for many seasons past. It makes me glad to have a bit of company, and bless my soul, such handsome visitors too. Come, warm yourselves around the fire before you go on your way. As they all sat in the firelight, she poked at the logs again, her eyes bright with excitement. She looked from one to the other. My old granny used to say that if you gaze long and hard into the grate, the smoke and flames will draw a picture of your fortune. I'm thinking you might find visions of your lost maid there. She saw their eyes searching around. You'll not find her hiding. In the corner, there's not a soul could steal over the threshold and escape old Nan's sharp eyes. Each moment the fire burned more fearlessly, and clouds of smoke drifted to the rafters, while old Nan rocked contentedly back and forwards in her chair. Her visitors wanted to draw back from the heat of the flames as they leapt up the chimney. Mysteriously, however, they found they were unable to move, as though some power held them fast. Watch the flames. The pictures are getting clearer, they heard the old woman chuckle. But the smoke burned their eyes and throats, and their arms were raised to ward off the intense heat. Gasping for breath, they could only utter strangled cries. For many minutes the spell held them captive, and the old woman's chuckles grew to a screech of laughter to see their clothes scorch and their hair singe. Then at last she set them free. Their faces were blistered, and they stumbled blindly, groping for the door. They found the latch and struggled outside, gasping the cool air of the moor. The old woman followed to the door, calling after them, Come again, if you're passing by. Old Nan is always pleased to have some company, and should I ever come across that dark-haired lassie, I'll tell her that you were kind enough to call. Thus endeth the story.